If today's episode sparks any new ideas in you, please hit follow and leave a quick review for me. So I read every single one, and it helps us to get more eyes on all this great conversation we're having. On to the episode. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Purpose-Driven Progress. As always, I am your host, Jacob Hicks. And you guys, I got to tell you, I'm super excited for you guys to be my guest today. He's an innovator. He's an inventor. He's got a ton of cool stuff on his resume. But let me tell you a little bit more about him. So from NASA to viral entrepreneur, Jacob Kirstein's journey is anything but ordinary. He started as an engineer at SpaceX and NASA, working on launch pads and satellites. But his true calling came when he dove into product innovation. After multiple failed attempts, he struck gold with vacuum-insulated cosmetic containers, only to face a $7,000 pre-sale scam that nearly ended it all. Instead of folding, he doubled down, turning his idea into a 50,000 order thriving business. In this episode, we break down the risks, resilience, and relentless pursuit of innovation. Jacob, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really stoked to have you. So, before we get into all this cool stuff you've been doing, I mean, tell us a little bit more about you. We kind of covered it in the intro, but I mean, how did you go from, NASA and SpaceX engineer to cosmetic containers?
Yeah, it's quite the jump, and I get that question a lot. So, I was studying aerospace at UCF, started in 2014, and pretty much since my freshman year, because I learned how to 3D print in high school, I was always trying to create something that I could sell and kind of become my own boss. So throughout college, worked on a bunch of different inventions. Friends would pitch me ideas. I'd come up with my own ideas, try to 3D print them. Never really got anything going. And then right out of college, I was offered an internship at NASA. So I took that. Obviously, that's like the dream engineer for aerospace. Yeah. That's a dream job for an aerospace engineer. And a friend called me and was like, hey, some girl at dinner was saying your chapstick always melts. Is there any way you can make a Yeti for chapstick? And I honestly didn't use chapstick at the time. Now I do a little bit more just because, I have my own brand of it.
You have to.
Of course, yeah. But I asked my fiance, then girlfriend, if she thought it was a good idea. And she was like, oh my God, you have to do that. That could be a $1 million brand. So I was like, okay, let's see what the market thinks. And I 3D printed a version of Chappy and spray painted it, super rudimentary, and posted it on TikTok. And the response, it went viral. It got 100,000 views almost instantly, like the next day. So I knew I had something. I knew there was something there that the market wanted. And now I was kind of a step ahead of where I had been over the last 5 years. I had a product that someone wanted. So I got very excited. And over the next few years, worked on putting it into production.
I love it, man. That's so cool, man. Like, help me understand a little bit better, because I don't know if this will surprise you or not, but I've never really used cosmetic containers too much. So, like, what really differentiates yours from like everything else on the shelf?
Yeah, so the whole concept behind Chappy is it will prevent lip balm. It started with just a lip balm size container, so it's vacuum insulated. It's stainless steel, just like a Yeti cup. And a lot of people leave their lip balm in the car, and it ends up melting.
Guilty.
So this is the solution of that. Now you can leave your lip balm in the car. Granted, in desert areas and Florida peak summer, sometimes it can be a little too hot. So we're careful with the disclaimer. Like, it's not invincible, but it does help a lot. And that's the main solution that it provides, is now people can have lip balm in their car, which is a huge thing during the summer. And then we made 5 different cases, basically just scaled up the design to bigger tubes and boxes. And now, girls have tons of makeup that they want to leave in their car. And now they can keep it in the Chappy Pro, which is like a lunchbox size Chappy. And it's not just for the car. It's for, whether you're going on a hike or you put your lip balm in your pocket and forget about it. And then you put your clothes in the wash. Goes through the dryer, destroys your clothes. Chappy OG and Chappy Plus are leak proof, so it prevents against that. A lot of people that live in cold states report their chapstick melting just in their pocket from body heat, prevents against that. Beach day is another huge thing we hear from our customers. So that's the main edge of our makeup containers.
I love it, man. Well, it's such an interesting idea. But one thing I really wanted to ask you, because again, we kind of talked about already where you started at NASA and SpaceX, and now you're in something very, very, very different, right? So what personal mindset shifts really helped push you through some of this? I imagine there's been a lot of uncertainty and then setbacks like we mentioned in the intro.
Yeah. So it's a big mindset shift from engineering to e-com, but you can take some of the principles with you, like data analysis. You're looking at the ads manager, which ad creative is working, what's the click-through rate, what's the conversion rate, what's the ROAS, return on ad spend. And so I do like that part of e-com where you can look at all the analytics and dial in your ads and your website to kind of follow human behavior. It's one of the big differences between engineering and e-com is, business is human to human. It's not super predictable. There's not foundational rules that you can follow like there is with engineering or physics. Like in physics, A equals B. Business isn't so simple. So it is quite the mind shift there.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. I want to dive a little more deeper into the scam originally that you guys brought. I'm sure you get the question all the time, but I mean, kind of walk us through, like you had this viral thing go off on TikTok, you decided to sell it a bunch, you get this big scam that comes through and nearly kind of folds things in half, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. If I hadn't been trying to create a business for like 5 years before I launched this, I probably would have given up. But the story of the scam is the TikTok goes viral. I know I have a product. I launch a Shopify, I launch ads, basically just reusing the TikTok. And I start gathering pre-sale money. I have a little bit that I've saved up. I'm only a year or two out of college. And kind of building up the bank account to go into production. And I'm talking to this manufacturer for 5-6 months about the design because the design was super hard to make. Everyone who made vacuum insulated cups or mugs couldn't make one that was this small. And it has something to do with the bend radius of the Chappy is so small that the steel just wants to rupture. So a lot of manufacturers tried and were like, hey, we can't do it. Finally, someone was like, we can do it, sending me pictures. They're getting closer. And they're like, all right, to do it right, we need $7,000 and we can make the right molds and production resources so that we can make like 1,000 units for you. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna send the $7,000. We've been talking for months. What could go wrong? At this time, for some reason, production contracts was not something that I really thought of.
Yep.
And a scam was not really crossing my mind at the time. So I send the 7,000 and email them a few weeks later. I'm like, how's it going? And they're like, it's going. And I'm like, okay, can you send some pictures? And they're like, yeah, as soon as it's ready. A few weeks later, I'm like, hey, my customers are expecting it. Like, what's going on? Do you have a sample yet? They're like, we're working on it. I think like another month goes by. And I'm like, guys, what is going on?
Yeah.
And they say, we're working on it. And I'm like, something is wrong. There's no way that they're working on it for 2 months, no progress, no pictures. So I end up like really examining the emails. I'm not totally sure how I figured it out, but the email of the manufacturer I was talking to changed by one letter. So at some point I was talking to like manufacturer@gmail.com and it was like manufacturer spelled like one letter off at gmail.com. And it was all in the same thread. The thread never changed. So I don't know exactly how it happened, but at that point I realized something, like I've been scammed probably. I'm not getting this money back. My customers are going to freak out. And now I got to determine what my next steps are. So I had two options. I could refund all the pre-order money, lose my life savings, wrap it up, say, I'm done. I tried, didn't work. And the other option was put my life savings into another manufacturer and hopefully not get scammed twice.
Nice.
So I sent the design to, at first I was using Alibaba. The second website I used, I wish I could shout them out. I don't remember the website name, but it was like findyourmanufacturer.com, something like that. I sent out the design to hundreds of manufacturers and kind of told my story like, hey, I'm not sending any money until you prove that you can make a sample. And one manufacturer was like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I want to show you that, you know, you can do business in China and trust Chinese people. And they sent me a sample for free in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is a huge difference. So at that point, I drew up like a 10-page contract and we signed it, and they've been my partner ever since. And they have really, really been a strategic partner for me, not just a manufacturer, helping create new products and just really great people. So I'm very grateful for their cooperation. That's Half Cup Co. And so with the lost money, I ended up filing reports with the FBI, the FTC, my bank, the Chinese bank, the intermediary bank. And like 3 months later, I think Chappy was already in production. My bank calls me and they're like, hey, the money's back. And I'm like, what? Like, how's the money back? And they're like, we don't know. So I got the money back. No one knows how.
Well, I guess it's a happy ending in the end, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I vividly remember walking around. I was at my fiance's parents' house, walking around on the dock when I realized I got scammed. Like, what am I going to do? And just to see how it all turned out, you know, it's just, you got to fight through those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I feel like you kind of hit this already a little bit. But if you were to go do it all over again, for somebody that was in a similar position to yourself where they're trying to create a physical product for their business, you know, how would you recommend, or what lessons do you feel like you've learned you could share with like other founders about de-risking these kind of sales and navigating manufacturing relationships?
Absolutely. So if you're going to do a CPG, consumer packaged good, the first thing to do is test the market. And that's kind of what I did with my TikTok. I was watching a reel today by the CEO of Netflix, and he talks about how the most important thing to do when launching a business is try to launch it cheap and quick, and test it cheap and quick. So if it doesn't work, there's not demand, then skip it. So the example was a student came up to him and said, hey, I think there should be this website where people can share their clothes with other people and crowdsource like clothing sharing, kind of like Airbnb, but for clothes. And she's like, how do I raise money for the website and get a developer? And what he said was that, you know, post a note on your door and say, knock to borrow my clothes. And that's a great way, you know, to test man. Now with Instagram, you know, you could test it a little different. You could even just post a TikTok of your idea and just source the comments. But the first thing you have to do with any business idea is get market research. It's the least interesting part because a lot of founders get very excited. They're like, well, I have this great idea. I want to build it now. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. But you have to stop. Your idea, most of the time, is not going to work. And the faster and cheaper that you can figure that out, the better off you're going to be. So once you have validation, the next thing, you know, you're sourcing your product. Ask a lot of manufacturers, get a lot of quotes, because, you know, some people will say it's going to cost $5 a unit. Some people are going to say it's going to cost $1 a unit. And if you never reach that person who says it's going to be $1 a unit, you may never get the economies that you need to be profitable. So you got to reach out to a lot of people. A lot of people get too tied up on worrying that their design is going to be stolen from China. Whether you have a patent in the US, a patent in China, the thing is, like, it's just going to happen. You can't really worry about it. And you just have to focus on your business in America first. So send your design out to a lot of manufacturers, maybe send an email, say, hey, this is confidential. Can you agree? But don't get too caught up in it. Don't get too caught up in patents. You'll spend $7,000 trying to get a patent, waste 2 years, and now someone already has done your idea. So yeah, you want to move quick, get a lot of opinions on the cost for your product. And then once you have a manufacturer you trust, get a lawyer to look over your contract, write a long contract that says you got to do this by this date, this by this date, this by this date. China is really, really good at making exactly what you tell them to make. So you have to be very specific. If you leave out details, they will fill it in for you, and it may not be what you want. So you got to be very specific with your design that you give them. A lot of the time, they'll help you work out the details, but that kind of comes into the sample stage. So once you have a contract, get a sample, or even before a contract, get a sample if you can. A lot of manufacturers will charge you a sample fee. You got to be okay spending a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there to get samples. And then once you have the samples and the pricing, you can pick a final manufacturer. Really then, before a contract, you want to source a bunch of samples and see, there's 1,000 ways to make a bag, and a lot of them can be bad. Quality is super important. Are they cutting the threads at the end of their bag? Are they hiding the hinges? What kind of quality product materials are the materials that they're using quality? So there's a lot of things that go into the sample that you wouldn't think of, and the same product made by 5 different people is all going to be 5 different products. So you want to do some sort of balance between quality and price, and then write your contract and follow through with it and make sure you have the funds to finish.
I love it. That's fantastic. I mean, essentially you're talking about experimentation here, right? I mean, anybody that's listened to my show for any length of time knows that I'm a big fan of experimentation and just finding, reaching out to a lot of people, seeing what makes sense, and ultimately going with the one that, like you said, that has that kind of sweet spot between you're not paying an arm and a leg for it, but you're not cutting corners on the quality.
Yeah, and it kind of comes back to engineering in a strange way, even though it's makeup containers. The production aspect. This definitely was an engineering challenge, and figuring out, where's the break-even point between cost and quality is super important.
Any recommendations how to break that down for a layman?
It depends on the type of brand. Depends what your ideal customer profile is, which is also something you definitely want to break down early in your business, is who is my ideal customer. And once you figure out hey, I want to be like Walmart, I want to sell, cheap goods to a large amount of people, and maybe the quality is not the best. That's okay. There's a market for that. Walmart's a billion dollar company. So you can go that route, or you can be like, hey, I want to be like Versace, and I want to do high priced, high quality designer goods that, we're just known for our quality. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge market for that too. So you really want to niche down and understand who your customer is. For us, I've kind of always, it's like a $14 lip balm holder, and chapstick's about $2. So yeah, it's debatably a luxury item. So our quality is super important, and we want to make sure that if we ever ship anything that isn't quality, that we stand behind it and we replace it free of charge. And we take care of our customer, because it's kind of an expensive luxury item. It's not a need. Although the problem is a need, unfortunately, the way the economics work, the container is kind of expensive.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that. I feel like you hit on a really important point where early on we have to figure out who we're really talking to, right? Like, who is this really for? Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be for everybody, right? There's people out there, like you were just saying, that are totally okay with their $2 chapstick melting to get one use out of it, because they forgot it, right? And there's other people that really have a problem with their lips, and they want to make sure that they're taking care of them the right way, and that's really more the people you are talking to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The people who are maybe spending, instead of $2 on chapstick, like some chapsticks are $20. Yep. Some lipsticks are like $50. Mm-hmm. So that's more of our target audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, another question that occurs to me is, because obviously, like we talked about quite a bit already, is you started with chapstick, but now you've moved into a variety of different products. So what have been some of the biggest challenges for you and the business in transitioning from, that one-off product into a multi-product ecosystem?
Yeah, so, this kind of is a great time to bring up the cooler. So, yeah. Sometime last year, developed this floating backpack cooler holds 18 cans, waterproof TPU, super durable, thick zippers and hardware, a very quality product. It has insulated cup holders. It's got a built-in iPhone battery or rechargeable battery. You plug your speaker into it. It has a speaker pocket where you can put your speaker in, float the cooler, listen to music while you're in the pool. It's got towel holders. I mean, the thing is unreal. And the thought process behind it was, I already make insulated products, but I don't have a personal connection with cosmetics. Let me do something that, I'm really passionate about. And so we came up with the cooler. Well, I sent out the cooler drop to, 50,000 Chappy customers, and the conversion rate was like 0.1%. So clearly I misunderstood the market. And it turns out there's not a ton of overlap with cosmetics and outdoor coolers, just because they both insulate. So I realized at that point, I'm like, all right, well, I made a mistake, but now this needs to be its own brand. And then I can create an ecosystem of products around it, which we're just building out now. So we ended up calling the cooler Coolio, and we built a whole website around the brand Coolio, produced 500 coolers. I actually pre-sold like 100 of them, and then it was going great. I turned off the ads because I didn't want to be in the same situation I was in with Chappy, where, when we had our funds stolen, we had production delayed like 6 months, and customers were not happy. So I didn't want to repeat the same mistake. I turned off pre-orders, just got enough to go into production, nothing more. And we went through 5 versions of the cooler because the quality just wasn't there. The way it was designed wasn't perfect. It floated, but this was leaking into the water, or this or that. The sound was muffled. I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted people to really love it, because one of the best ways to get great marketing is just word of mouth. Just have a great product. So the coolers didn't end up coming in until September or August. And by then, cooler season is over. Like if you go on Google Trends, April, it's like coming up, July, and then by August, it's down here. So we missed the entire cooler season, and now I had 400 coolers and no one to sell them to. Plus storage costs of coolers, which are huge. So the storage costs were massive. It was just a nightmare. But now, we're gearing up for our second cooler season, and, I know that the demand is there. I know the product is perfect. And now we have all these secondary upsells, really cool things like magnetic beach towels, which is like, why would anyone need that? But it's like, if you're changing out your car, you can stick it onto your car and use it kind of as like a changing room. When you get into your car, you can attach it around the headrest, and now it's making sure your seat's not wet. That's just one of the many really cool upsell products that we're going to launch this year. So because I took my time, we're going to have hopefully a really great summer with the brand. But the problem was, if I have these other products, well, I'm going to call everything Coolio, like the Coolio towel. I don't know. It's more good for a cooler. So I ended up working with a partner to kind of bring the whole ecosystem together. We're rebranding to Terra, so a second rebrand. But all the coolers say Coolio. So for now, we're going to sell the coolers as like the Coolio cooler under the Terra brand. And then as soon as we sell through these 400, which I think will happen in the next month, we're going to rebrand the coolers to Terra and have Terra be an indoor and outdoor tech-infused company. So I don't think that really exists yet. For winter, we did heated jackets, heated scarves, heated gloves, heated socks. So a mix of like tech and outdoors is the vision for the brand, which I'm super excited. And it also fills in our winter gap because, chapstick only melts in the summer. So we had a huge hole during the winter other than Christmas because it's a great stocking stuffer. But, January, February, March, sales plummet. So this is a really good way to kind of get some winter sales with the winter gear, and then we'll have the summer things as well.
I love it. It's so cool. And I'm honestly, I'm a big fan of the cooler. As somebody who has spent a lot of time outside, often sunburned, having a drink or two, like, I mean, it's really, really cool. I'll make sure to drop the link in the show notes so anybody interested can, of course, check it out, and help you get those 400 turned over.
Yes,
I think
sir.
you bring up an interesting point, though. What's it been like going through a rebrand?
With Chappie, it's impossible. Chappie is locked in. With Coolio, first the coolers were called Chappie. When I sent it out to 50,000 people, only like 5 or 6 bought. Changing the name to Coolio at that point was not hard because no one knew about the brand or cared. Now with Coolio, we sold like another 100. So changing now from Coolio to Terra, now we have like 110 people who will be like, what happened? But it's still not like a critical mass. And I think it's important. And even though the cooler says Coolio, I think we'll probably keep the name of the cooler Coolio, but we're just going to put the brand on the cooler instead of the name of the cooler. So it'll probably always be the Coolio cooler by Terra.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I want to swing back around though, because we've talked about some social media stuff, and that's originally what kicked all of this off, right? Is going viral on social media. So, I mean, how do you see the role of content creators evolving in like brand growth?
Sorry, it got a little choppy there.
I was just wondering, like, how you see the role of content creators evolving.
It's everything right now. The TikTok shop and TikTok play with getting a load of content creators on TikTok to talk about your product. TikTok's done an insane job, and it's still something that we're fine tuning. I've seen a lot of our competitors and other brands leverage TikTok just a way that you can't with Facebook. But what TikTok has done is created an in-house influencer program where influencers can apply to be like a creator for the brand and receive commission, and it's all done in the app. So if someone clicks the creator link, the brand gets the sale, the commission automatically goes to the creator, which has not existed before. And the way TikTok leverages it is when brands run ad spend, they'll show a brand ad. So it's like, it will say like Chappy, it'll show our ad. You'll scroll, you'll see a video you like, you'll scroll again, and you'll see a content creator that's advertising on their personal profile. So instead of saying Chappy, it'll just, say Jacob, and they'll be like, I have a Chappy and it's the best and it's amazing. So now you've seen the product from the brand, and now you have that social proof too. And it really does a phenomenal job at getting conversions on TikTok. And that's one of the big things that has blown up a lot of brands recently. Something that I guess I've kind of coined is using Indeed to find influencers. A lot of influencers want to charge $200-$300 a reel, and you never know if the reel is going to go viral, if it's going to make a good ad. It could totally bomb, and you're just out the money. Yep. So instead of going for these influencers that have a huge following, you can find really good micro influencers on Indeed, people who are looking for social media content generation job postings. They don't have the big following, so they're kind of doing like that outbound looking for roles instead of the big influencers that just have brands come to them all the time. So their rate's a lot lower, and their content isn't always just as good, but a lot of the times it is. It's just undiscovered talent, and I've been tapping into that and working with some really talented creators that make amazing content for affordable costs.
So I love that strategy because, well, I mean, I know you know this, but I mean, I don't feel like we talk about it enough how really game-changing TikTok has been, because, I mean, as you know, social media back in the day, like 5 years ago even, it was you follow some people, you like them, you see their stuff, right? But now, I mean, again, as we know, TikTok has made it, hey, I like this certain kind of content, so I'm going to give you more of that, right? And like that's why I think this strategy is really good. On TikTok, if I have 5 followers, 5 million followers, if the content is really, really great and getting traction, then it's not going to matter.
Yeah, it's not so much how big the influencer's platform is anymore. It's just, are they good at connecting with the audience and conveying the message? And it's not always just about conveying the message either. It's like, can I make you take an action? Can I make you go to the website, click the website, look at the product page? Can I make you buy it? How good are you at forcing an action just from your content? And that's really the key for advertising is you don't want to just inform someone. You can make a great informative video and someone can learn a lot. But if they don't go and purchase it, it just doesn't matter.
Yep. 100%. Well, as we're wrapping things up here, and we kind of hit on a little bit already, but what are some of the the big goals that we've got for 2025?
So many. So many. I'll just list them out, and maybe we'll do a follow up in a few months to see where things have panned out. But with Terra, super excited to launch that in the next few days. That's terragear.co. I think that's going to go really well. Our team is here in Florida. We're close to the beach, very easy to shoot, and it's something that we genuinely love and really want to release products that people love. So I think that's going to go great. Chappie is going to be on Good Morning America Deals and Steals for Easter and April 2nd. So hopefully if anyone is interested in that, you can check that out. It has some great deals. And my brother is a doctor, and he's asking for help launching a supplement brand. Ooh. So we'll see how that goes. That's Dr. K's One a Day. What else we got? I'm working on an AI app that with my buddy Gary, who actually gave me the lip balm idea, and it's supposed to help you plan goals and achieve them. Okay. So, ChatGPT, you could say like, hey, I want to do this, and then I can tell you how to do this, and then you never see it again. Yep. So this is an AI where it sticks around. You can set dates. You can interact with people working on the same goals. That's Atlas AI, and hopefully launching in the next month or so. And I kind of want to get into quantum computer security. Microsoft just released their quantum chip, and it's going to be a huge problem. They say it's going to be commercially available in 3 years. And encryption and crypto are both at risk with quantum computing. It can crack both of those things in seconds. So I think there's a huge play there. And, AI is pretty saturated, but quantum, like, no one's looking at it. You say quantum, it sounds like people saying AI 3 years ago. It's like, AI,
it's like sci-fi stuff.
Yeah. So, hopefully I can get that started over the next year and help secure people's businesses.
Man. So, I got a goal or two on the horizon, it sounds like.
One or two.
Well, Jacob, thank you again for coming on. This was a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, and it was great to be on. Really great questions. I look forward to maybe doing this again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll make sure to have the links to everything we talked about in the show notes. If somebody wants to connect with you, where's the best way to find you?
Find me on Instagram, Jacob.Kirstein. I love helping people with their e-com brands. I do it almost every day. So if you have an e-com brand, need some help, give me a ring. Free advice, happy to help.
Love it, man. Well, I'll include that in the show notes as well. But thanks again, Jacob. And anybody listening, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys next time.
Take care.